So I'm really excited about getting this opportunity to meet all of you interesting folks from what it seems to be around the world and not only from the UK. And for the next 20 minutes or so, I'll share some insights on the state of customer experience and how we approach it, not only for as marketers for HubSpot, but how we think about delighting our customers across all touch points. And we all know the world has changed pretty dramatically in 2020. And the events of the past year has transformed entire industries, changed the way we work, and really reshaped human behavior. And companies in every industry had to pivot to meet totally different needs of their customers. And if companies started the year thinking they need to be digitally ready, they ended the year with a digital first and digital only approach in many cases. And I mean, I think we all can echo that this is a pretty extreme transformation in just a matter of months. And in essence, digital transformation took a giant leap forward in 2020, and there's no going back. And customer experience is more important than ever. But this didn't just start in 2020, right? I mean, just look at this graph. And it shows the Google trend, search trend for the term customer experience. And the 100 here represents the peak level of interest. And as you can see, interest in customer experience has increased every year since 2004. Now, why is this? Well, it's not a surprise, really, because we're in the age of the customer. In every industry and era, different forces create winners and losers. And if you zoom out a little bit and you look at the last 100 years of business, we can divide it into four major ages. The first one really being the age of manufacturing from the 1900s approximately to the 1960s. In these decades, we saw the rise of mass manufacturing. The core competency you needed was complex design expertise and industrial capabilities. Winners and losers were created of the quality and consistency of these products. And you have some iconic British brands here, such as Rolls-Royce as an example. And the next age, the age of distribution, as we like to call it, from the 60s to the 90s, globalization really accelerated at a rapid pace in this era. And this opened up for entirely new markets for companies all around the world. And the core competency at then was really the ability to build a global distribution network and a supply chain. And companies like DHL and Tesco are great examples of this. Then we have the age of information from the 1990s until 2010 approximately. And internet changed it all. All of a sudden, we have and had more information than ever at our fingertips. And the core competency back then really was the ability to organize and deliver all this information to the markets in a manageable way. But now we're really in the age of the customer. Today, empowered customers have the ability to create winners and losers. Empowered customers control this. So the question for us really has been, how do we become a winner in this space? And the question for you here is, how do you become a winner in the time we live in right now? I fundamentally really believe that this starts with recognizing that the power balance between the buyers and sellers has completely shifted. Buyers have more power than sellers. Information used to be available only to sellers, but today it's available to everyone. Buyers are looking for validation, not information. Think about how you buy a car today versus how you did it in the 1980s. I didn't buy a car in the 80s, so I don't know, but I heard this. But in the 80s, you basically only could control the decision that you wanted to buy a car. From that point on, you were pretty much in the seller's hands, right? You didn't know where you were paying a fair price or not, because you couldn't compare it to anything else. You didn't know what cars really was available on the market. And any question you had to ask the salesperson, and it could pretty much only be answered by the seller. Today, it couldn't be more different. You don't need a salesperson today for 90% of your buying process, probably even more than that. You can gather all the information yourself. And by the time you meet a salesperson, you're just there to sign the deal. And even that, you don't need to meet a person to do at these days. And some brands are really taking this further. There's a great example from the US, a company called Carvana. It's an online used car retailer that is based out of Arizona. And what they do is they really disrupt the entire dealership model, and they will ship a used car to your home so you can test drive it and you can take it back if you don't want to buy it. I think that's pretty awesome. I think it's what innovation is. And in the age of the customer, we've come a really long way with those kind of new companies. Customer expectations have changed. And because buyers are in control, they're able to influence the way we do business. And expectations have shifted dramatically. It's all about being frictionless, and it's all about giving an easy experience. And our businesses need to be easy to research, easy to buy from, easy to engage with, and easy to get service from. And I think there's no doubt about it, that great customer experience, and we saw a similar slide here earlier today as well, like great customer experience makes a real difference. Every brand on the left-hand side on the slide is established in their industry, but every brand on the right-hand side is winning because of how they create customer delight. This is happening in both B2C and B2B. If we start with B2C, let's look at Chewy versus Petco. I'm sorry for using American examples here, but both these brands provide the same type of supplies, but Chewy gives its customer more choices. It's a one-stop shop with a wider range of brands. And what they do, and what I find pretty cool about this, is that they have a return policy that really helps them and allows them to grow. For example, if your pet doesn't like what you bought them, Chewy doesn't require you to send it back. They replace it or refund it, and they ask you to share the product you don't need with a friend. So I think that's a pretty cool experience that creates a positive word of mouth and a better experience for the customers. I mean, who loves returning products? I certainly don't. And I hate when there's a very difficult return policy for something that I buy. And I buy a lot of stuff online. So I'll just to give you an example. I mean, Chewy's market cap today is over $40 billion. Pretty amazing. If we take B2B as another example, and we compare IBM with AWS, and this is close to my heart. I come from a virtual service background. I used to work for VMware for many years. But once upon a time, and it's not that long ago, you had to buy physical rack-mounted servers. They are expensive, and they're extremely hard to maintain. It's really difficult for the customer, and you constantly have to optimize them and prepare and forecast for peak loads to ensure you don't have a complete outage and take your company down. Then came cloud hosting, and virtual servers like VMware's and AWS, among others, flipped this entire model on its head. Customers only pay for what they use, and the company will do all the optimization for you. And that is what success looks like in the age of the customer: seamless, easy, and really delightful customer experiences. So let's take a step back. Customer experience is critical to differentiate and win. So how do we do it? Let's start by defining what it is. Customer experience, it's not only about marketing. It's not only about sales or services. It's how your customers perceive their interactions with your company. It's about all the touch points they have with you, from first visit to website, to their first interaction with your product, to the first time they need support. At HubSpot, we have dozens of teams, dozens of systems, and thousands of people that are behind this one unified experience. And our mission really is to help millions of organizations and customers grow better. And we do this by delivering really delightful customer experiences. So what have we learned at HubSpot? What have we learned from really doing this at scale? It's really an art and a science to this. Art is the culture. There is no such thing as two companies having the same culture. It's something you create, and it's super unique. Added to that is your science. Your science is your discipline, and science follows a methodology and order of operations. And I think, and we think at HubSpot, that these are both equally as important, and neither of them can flourish alone. And the same core practice that we use, we believe can be applied to totally different industries, and we think that they can really work well. And customer first isn't really a one-year initiative, not for us, and it shouldn't be for anyone. It's not a project. It's not something you sign off and then ship and then deliver and then it's done and dusted. It's a way of being. And it really starts with your culture. And your culture shows up in your values. At HubSpot, for example, we have a number one core principle, and that is our North Star. It's called we solve for the customer. It is part of our DNA and every decision we make. Customer value always comes first. So when we did the question in the beginning of today and we had the poll, I was kind of surprised that not more companies have the customer first. We live this. And we live this value through our practices. We build deep listening with our customers, and regular feedback from our customer is at the heart of what we do. We feature customers at our company meetings. Every single company meeting will have a customer attend. And my favorite meeting of the month is a meeting called Customer First, where we invite a panel of customers on stage on a specific theme. Really important and really interesting insights that we can pull from those analysis, both from a quantity, we do both quantity and quality analysis, and it's really, really helping us. Added to this, your discipline brings rigor to your business. It's about a systematic approach to building a great experience. And the 4 things that are really important to us are aligned systems, aligned strategies, and aligned incentives. Let's go through all 4 of them. If we start with the aligned teams first, 2 things matter for us: a decision-making group and a decision-making cadence. HubSpot decision-making groups, or the decision-making group that we have in this case, is made up of all functions that are part of the end-to-end customer experience. And we chose actually last year to change our whole organization structure globally to have marketing, sales, and services report into one leader so we can make decisions faster. And this is absolutely not the only way to do it. As long as you have a decision-making group that touches all the areas of the end-to-end experience, and you have a decision-making cadence, your teams can for sure operate in the same kind of rhythm as we do. But I think what's really important to us is that we started with our teams because we think about our teams in terms of vector alignment. Every team is a vector. And when your vectors point in different directions, you have suboptimal impact. But when your vectors point in the same direction, in our case towards the customer, you can maximize that impact. At HubSpot, we call this a flywheel team. We're bringing teams together, and that's how we align our vectors. And once your team and our team is aligned, we created an aligned strategy. First team alignment, then an aligned strategy. And at HubSpot, we did this by last year creating a 3-year strategy for the whole flywheel team. And then we, on top of that, built a 1-year executional plan. And when we're creating it, our focus is making our strategy customer in versus function out. Function out thinking is when every team is in a silo and solves for their own specific needs. And we believe that this creates really gaps in the customer experience that can be super painful. Customer in thinking starts with the customer's needs. That is why the question in the poll earlier today for me was so easy and straightforward to answer. But by looking at the kind of trade-offs, the kind of handoffs between the different teams and the functions and what transition exists for the customers, it's easier to define what strategy and what a good strategy look like. I encourage all of you to do like a simple test. Go back to your teams, ask your marketing team, ask your sales teams, ask your services team, what is their goal and what is their strategy? And if those answers don't have the word customer in it, you're not customer first focused. And if they don't tie to each other, you probably have a function out strategy in your company. Our answer to this question is pretty simple. And I've said it a couple of times now, but we have the same vision for all teams. It's to create a delightful customer experience that helps customers and HubSpot grow better, independent of what function you work in. Systems should really be layered on top of your strategy and process. As customers' expectations have risen, systems need to look very different. We see this not just as we're building our own systems, but also as a CRM platform provider that we are ourselves. Customers expect systems that are easy to align. Systems should bring together all customer-facing people. A customer service call could and probably should dynamically change the content of marketing messages. A cluster of visits to your website should change the sales approach and prioritization of efforts. That is what seamless look like for us. It should be easy to adopt. What good are systems if no one uses them? A system like a CRM platform, for example, can be a cornerstone of your business, but it won't be if the data that you put in, or if you don't put in data at all. And without good data, you can't make good decisions. So systems must be incredibly usable to be valuable. Think about that. Incredibly usable to be valuable. When you need to make a change to your systems, it should be easy. As your company grows, you will need to evolve your processes. You will need to have new reports, new workflows, new automation. Systems should easily support changing business needs and customer needs and be adaptable. So the last step is really aligning incentives. If you're relying on functional success to drive incentives, I guarantee you won't optimize for the customer experience. So what we did is that we picked two key metrics as a company that we obsess about: customer NPS and revenue retention. And why is this? Customer NPS, because we care about delighting our customers and not just signing them. Our other metric is revenue retention, and our entire Flywheel team really cares about this deeply. And especially for us being a SaaS company, revenue retention is key, and I'll give you some example of that. If you're doing the right thing, your customers will stay with you, and you're holding on to your customer. If you deliver value and you can ultimately upgrade your customer, it will show up in your revenue retention, and you will be growing your business. And if you look at who the best salespeople in the world, probably your customers. The best marketer in the world, probably your customer. People will share good experiences. And it's really the heart of how we think about customer experience. And these two things have a huge impact on the rest of the organization. And the fact that we align incentives across teams has been really good for us as a company. So what I would like to encourage you all today, even now, it's more important than ever to not only think about the customer experience, but to think about it differently. I encourage you all to challenge short-time thinking. I encourage you to challenge bottom-line thinking and functional thinking. CX, customer experience, is something you do over a long period of time. It's not a project. It's not an initiative for the bottom line. It should be part of your DNA, and it should be driving top-line growth. I want to encourage you all, because I believe that we have great opportunities right now to help grow our businesses and to be industry leaders in customer experience, especially if you view your business from the customer perspective.